Hey y'all. So I'm legit like sitting on the floor in my little beauty area and I'm so excited for this video. I've been wanting to share this with you guys for weeks now. So we are going to go over my new makeup organization today, as well as check out my whole eyeshadow palette collection. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. If you guys have been watching my Shop My Stash videos, you will have seen these Starlight drawers before. So in the first drawer, we had all of my ColourPop Super Shock shadows, my Glitterly Obsessed, as well as my loose pigments. I had some MAC pigments in here. I added some of these loose single shades. These all used to live in my bottom drawer of my Alex 5 drawers, where I had all of my eyeshadow palettes prior to this new configuration. So I wanted to go ahead and take all my single shadows, move them kind of to the single shadow drawer. This next drawer didn't change very much at all. It still has my kind of spillover highlighters, blushes, bronzers. I did declutter some things from this drawer to make some space, and we'll go over that in the future when I have all my decluttered products together. This drawer also didn't change a huge amount. I still have my liquid highlighters in here, some additional blushes and bronzers and such. However, this drawer is now my eyeliners, lip liners, liquid liners, all that colorful eyeliners. So this used to be on the other side, now it lives here. So these bottom drawers haven't changed too much either. I still have all my e.l.f. palettes and Profusion palettes in here. And this bottom drawer is still Morphe and this one Makeup Revolution palette. So that hasn't changed. For the second set of Starlight drawers, these have changed quite a bit. So I found that I really loved keeping my lip products in these types of drawers. I found that I reached for these products more than I was when they were in other places in my collection. So I went ahead and moved all of my lip products to these top 4 drawers. So we've got mainly glosses up here, maybe some liquid lipsticks thrown in. This drawer has mainly bullet lipsticks, has some liquid lipsticks as well, some glosses. It's mostly broken down by brand with some additional ones like this Appeal lip kind of thrown in. And then this final drawer has my NYX lips. It's got all my Beccas with a couple additional ones thrown in, my Lime Crimes in the back, and then all my Fenty gloss bombs are in that little Fenty tin. So it's definitely much easier to get to all my lip products now, and I'm reaching for different brands instead of the same ones over and over again. This drawer didn't change too much. It's still kind of my everything drawer. I've got these little lotions in here, a magnifying mirror, a big old brush, face oils, extra clean sponges, little face scrubber thing, brush switches, that kind of stuff. And then this last drawer is still my setting sprays. In this next section, we have my Alex 5 drawers, which have been a part of my collection for a very long time. And this has changed a bit too. I was very excited about my new drawers because I was able to make some more room in my Alex 5 drawers here for some additional products. So the top drawer hasn't changed. We still have all of my setting powders in here and pressed powders. The second drawer is still all of my bronzers, blushes, and highlighters. This third drawer in the Alex 5 drawers is all of my face palettes. I basically just have to pull this Alex 5 drawer out slightly to get it past this towel rack over here so it can open more than just that far. However, drawers number 4 and 5 are new. So drawer number 4 is now all of my concealers. These are all my high-end concealers. These are my affordable concealers. I have a couple primers in here still in boxes that I haven't tried yet. I also have makeup sponges here. And in the very back, we have some face primers that are too tall to stand up in this drawer. And we have all of my other primers back here in this little bin. So now I can get to everything. I'm not crunching stuff into drawers and cracking lids off stuff like this smashed from being jammed in that drawer. So that's not happening anymore, thankfully. Everything fits really nicely. I can see everything. I can get to my concealers much more easily. And I love that everything's in here. It has a chance to kind of be a little bit bigger. And where my drawers, it was really getting smushed in there. So I love this whole setup and being able to grab everything so easily. And I just love it. Then in this last drawer of my Alex 5 drawers, we have all of my foundations. So the front is going to be my drugstore products, but I also have towards the back some products I want to try and test and potentially declutter. I have them in the front, so I'm reminded to try them and play with them. I have some here as well that are a little bit larger, a little too large to stand up, as well as this one in the back, same situation. I have my compact foundations here. I have this little extra setting powder because there's a little bit more room in this drawer than in my powder drawer. And then towards the back in this bucket, I have my more high-end foundations. So I tend to reach for my drugstore ones the most during the week for work, and I tend to save my nicer ones for filming or special occasions and stuff. So I have those back here. I have the ones I reach for the most in the front, and I love having everything at an arm's reach. I don't have to take everything out, shift things around. It's just so much more convenient. Then the last section of my makeup collection relates to these 4 drawers, which are the new drawers I've added to my collection. Please don't mind the smudges. It's just for my makeup-y hands touching these drawers. They can be a little tough to clean. Like you can see down here, I have like all those makeup smudges on it, but it's been such a humongous help. So let's get into these drawers. We're gonna start at the 4th drawer. So this is the 4th drawer of my cabinet, and look how big this drawer is. So over here I have all of my mascaras, both drugstore and high-end. Down here I have my little mirror. I have some Lady Gaga, House Laboratory, the little eye mask thing and the little wings. I have my e.l.f. shadow guards. And then I also have my Patrick Ta fan down here. So this is really convenient. It used to be on top of my stuff, and now there's like no clutter, which I love. Over here I have all my brow products. I have these little stencils. I have some brow powders, pomades, all of my pencils and mascaras. So this is a great little brow bucket. Again, I don't have to cram everything in that little acrylic drawer, which is such a nice relief. Here I have a lot of my color correctors, eyeshadow primers, cream contours, lash glue, stuff like that. I have all of my Moxie lashes all over here. I have like a bunch of different kinds. I actually want to do that video with you guys, but not right now while I have lash extensions on. I won't be able to, but I will eventually do this video. I have some liquid kind of glittery eyeshadows in here, all different brands. I have Urban Decay, Model & Co. I have some Laura Geller, all different kinds ones in there. I have my House Laboratory shadows here, some Pixie. I have some from the Balm, all different kinds of liquid shadows here. And then I have all my Stila glitter and glows and shimmer and glows in this area here, where I can easily see them, access them, use them. And I have my Lime Crime glitter shadows in here as well, kind of there in the center. So this just makes everything so much more easy to reach for. I'm hoping to get way better use out of my products, and it's so much more fun for Shop My Stashes, where I'm not pulling all of those acrylic drawers out and putting them all over the place, trying to jam things back in and cram things back in. It's just so nice to have everything nice and easy to grab for in this great big drawer. So now let's get into my eyeshadow palette collection. Okay, so let's start with drawer number 3. You guys haven't seen any of these yet. I'm so excited to share this with you. Here she is. So this is one drawer of eyeshadows, and these are all organized pretty much by brand. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we'll start in this corner of the drawer, and we'll start with my BH Cosmetics, which is pretty much all these palettes right here. So first I have the BH Cosmetics Shan XO, the Remix palette. We have 9 beautiful shades on this side, as well as 9 beautiful shades on this side. This was a palette that honestly I almost decluttered, and not because it isn't beautiful, but I just don't reach for this one very often. However, this Lover shade, this beautiful purple, I don't think I have anywhere else in my collection, and it is like my favorite pretty dusty purple. So I'm hanging on to this palette basically for this shade. And if I could learn how to depot stuff, I'd probably just pop this out. But these are really pretty colors, and I can get some use out of them. This is a really pretty duochrome right there. My next palette is the Aurora Lights palette from BH Cosmetics. This palette is stunning. Look at those shades. This is so pretty. I've definitely enjoyed playing with this one. I want to get some more use out of it. I haven't played with all the shades yet. I played with like some of the pinks and purples, but this is such a beautiful, beautiful palette. Oh, so stunning. The next palette is the Desert Oasis palette from BH Cosmetics. This is absolutely one of my favorite palettes in my collection. So this palette I've used a ton. It is so pretty. I love this giant highlighter shade. It is like such a beaming color. I use basically all of these as eyeshadows. I don't use them as highlighters, but this is such a gorgeous, gorgeous palette. I really enjoy using this. Sticking with BH, I have the Carli Bybel Deluxe Edition palette. This is a beautiful palette, and these highlighters are so intense. But these are just some really pretty colors, very soft and wearable, great for work looks. A little on the cooler tone side, which I like because I don't have a lot of cool tones. It's a little bit more like neutral cool, I guess, but it's a beautiful palette. I love Carli Bybel. I think these are fantastic, and I really enjoy them. Next, we have the Zodiac Love Signs palette from BH Cosmetics. This is a gorgeous palette. And you've got some mattes and some baked shadows. I still have the cover on this because I've never touched it. So I definitely want to get some more use out of this. I've heard so many good things about these Zodiac palettes. And then from BH, I also have the original Zodiac palette. So this one's a little bit more on the cooler side. Really, really pretty palette. I've also never touched this one, the little plastic thing. But these are absolutely stunning colors, and you've got a really pretty nice ring of mattes as well as a little highlighter in the center. Just beautiful. This Cancer shade looks amazing. Next, if we look at this little section of eyeshadow palettes, we have the Wanderlust Fling palette. This I got from a Try Beauty box recently, and this has a bunch of beautiful shimmer shades and one matte. I'm definitely looking forward to using this palette as we approach spring. I think this is so pretty. I also have the Brights by Ruby Mae. This is like a really pretty neon palette. Such beautiful shades. I cannot wait to use this in the summertime. I've been kind of waiting. I didn't want to use this over the fall or winter. It just didn't seem like it would make much sense. But I think for summer, this is a beautiful palette. I can't wait to play with it. The next palette I have is by Suva Beauty. This is the Protégé palette, and I got this in my very first BoxyCharm. So this palette is one that I basically reached for the Poetic shade, the Structure shade, and this Theory shade. I don't play too much with the rest of the palette, but these colors are so gorgeous. I'm basically keeping the entire palette for those colors. I then typically pull in the Lover shade, and that is absolutely one of my favorite eye looks. Those three purples together are so beautiful. And then this Theory color as an inner corner highlight. I love that look. I also have this Ace Beauté Vintage Dawn palette. I got this from a BoxyCharm, I think last month, maybe the month before. And this has got a really, really pretty color story. It's not the most unique palette in my collection, but I really liked this pretty cactus color and the sky color and dew. The rest of them are kind of warm shades, but they're beautiful. I really like the formula. I created a really pretty look with the horizon shade and then sky and dew. Oh, beautiful. I got a compliment when I went out to Starbucks on my lunch break that day, and the girl's like, "Are you a makeup artist?" And I'm like, she's like, "Your eye look is so pretty." I was like, "Thank you." So definitely a beautiful palette. And then the last one from this little section is the Saffron Palette, also by Suva Beauty. This is a gorgeous palette. These shimmers are crazy pigmented, so pretty. And I really love the way they swatch. I need to get some more use out of this palette because I definitely haven't played with it enough. And I'd like to kind of incorporate the other Suva palette I have with this one, because I definitely think the color stories are very complementary. That pretty matte red with this plummy shimmer. Oh. Then if we kind of move to this back section over here, first, we have the Nubian Mini Palette by Juvia's Place. So this I got in my very first Allure Beauty box. This is a Carli Bybel collab box. And it's got really pretty mattes in here as well as some beautiful shimmers. This is another great palette for work. Very simple. Could be a great travel palette. And you could do a variety of looks, honestly, from this. You've got all different shimmers to play with, and you can deepen up with the darker brown. So this is definitely a cute little palette. I also have this Soft and Sultry palette from Milani. This is a really beautiful cool tone palette. I heard so many great things about this palette, especially from Nicole Cutler, who loves this. She's got like pan in so many of these shades. For me, I think I need to play with this a little bit more. Because I haven't been using as much eyeshadow primer or concealer on my lid because of my lash extensions, I found that these colors kind of blended away on my eye. So I want to try them with a sticky base and see if I can get better pigmentation out of this palette, because these colors are absolutely stunning and I love these cool tone shades. Next, I have the Pure Festival palette, which I got from a BoxyCharm months back. And this is a palette I've definitely traveled with. I do love these shimmer shades, and these warm colors are so pretty. I really like this pink under the lower lash line. It's really pretty if you do like a warm tone look and then just do that on your lower lash. I haven't played too much with the pressed glitters, and this purple shade, Gypsy, I wore one time. It made my eyes burn so bad I couldn't open them for half the day. So I haven't touched this palette since that episode with the Gypsy shade, and it might have been sunscreen I got in my eyes. I'm not really sure, but I know my eyes were burning after I used that shade, and so I haven't used it anymore. but it's still a really pretty palette. And then last from this section, we have the Warrior by Juvia's Place. I would love to get some more Juvia's Place shadows, but this one is absolutely beautiful. I was obsessed with this and I was so excited when it went on sale. These are gorgeous shimmers. And the mattes at first took me a little bit to play with, and then I kind of learned the technique with them. And so now I really do enjoy this palette. Moving to this section, we have my Becca. This is the Ombre Rouge eyeshadow palette. I just talked about this in a recent Shop My Stash review. This is a beautiful palette, super wearable, very creamy and blendable, fantastic. And then I ended up keeping the highlighters with the eyeshadows just because I had more room in this drawer than I had in my face palette drawer, which is like totally packed. And this just basically has a collection of highlighters from Becca, and I just use these kind of as a lid shade when I'm going in with that more neutral all matte palette. Also from Becca, I have the Volcano Goddess palette. This one has a lot of cool tones and some really pretty colorful shades. I don't reach for this one nearly enough, but I really do love these shimmers so much. Not all of them, but so many, especially these three gray at the bottom. I love the champagne, this red one, the gold one. These guys are a little bit more toppers. This guy doesn't perform very well, and the mattes are okay, but the shimmers are absolutely the star of this palette. Next, we have from Menagerie Cosmetics, this is the Violet Ink palette. This is another one I've never even touched. Oh, so stunning. I was obsessed with this. I ordered it on pre-order and had to wait like 2 or 3 months. It came in the mail and I forgot I'd even ordered it. But this is absolutely gorgeous. And I really love this color story. I think it's so pretty. And the packaging is adorable. I love the octopus. Another one I waited forever for because it was going out of stock all the time, and I finally got it when it was restocked. I ordered it immediately. This is the Give Me Glow Juicy Olive palette. This is so gorgeous. I wore this in a previous video. I can't remember which one. I think it was one of my declutters. And I love this color story. I think it's so beautiful. These are such creamy mattes, creamy shimmers. I would love to try more from the Give Me Glow Cosmetics line, especially the Vintage Rose palette looks really beautiful. So love the Juicy Olive. Then from Glamlight, I have the Miracle palette, which I got from my Tribe beauty box when Angelica Nyquist did the collab with that box. And these are such beautiful colors. Lots of really pretty kind of like violet raspberry colors, some pretty neutral, some golds. This angelic shade is beautiful. You can see the dip I made in or more. So absolutely a gorgeous palette. I really like Glamlight's formulas and I can't wait to try more of their palettes. I really would like to get their cake palette. It's so pretty. Then I have the BoxyCharm Hello Charmer palette. This is really pretty. It's got a lot of nice glittery shades, some shimmers. It's got a lot of mattes. Really interesting, neat color story. I love all the little names. BoxyCharmer, full size, exclusive, spoiler, luxe, unboxing, sneak peek, premium, swipe up, pop up, and Cup of Joe, who's the CEO of BoxyCharm. So this is such a pretty palette. I love that they have all the names of different Instagram handles and hashtags that people use. It's just such a cute palette, and I really like this. And then last from this section, we have the Picante palette by Carroty. I actually just posted a look on my Instagram using this palette, I think yesterday. So did this kind of for a little date night look. Lots of pretty caramel colors on the top. You've got your kind of warmer rusts here, and then you have plums and berries. Moving to this side of the drawer, we'll go through this little stack of palettes. So first I have this little Quint from Bobbi Brown. It's got a nice creamy color, some pinks, some gray browns and such. It's my only Bobbi Brown eyeshadow, so and I love the little kind of like faux leather case. Next I have these two palettes from Bare Minerals. I have the Latte palette. These are the Gen Nude eyeshadow palettes. So pretty. These are great. This eyeshadow formula is beautiful. And then I also have the Copper palette. Another really cute 6-pan. And I like these guys together. I think they're really, really pretty. Kind of used in conjunction with one another. Like, what a beautiful palette. I also have two here from Laura Geller. I have the Montauk Escape palette. This has got a blush and a bronzer and then 4 eyeshadows. And then I've got the Southampton Classic, which also has a bronzer, blush, and 4 eyeshadows. So these I have not used yet. I've decluttered most of my Laura Geller eyeshadows, but these I kept because I thought they were so pretty. And I really like the face palette shades as well. I thought this would be great to travel with. Next from Violet Voss, I have the Creme Brulee palette. I've never used this. It's just got so many beautiful shimmer shades in it, but I hadn't reached for it too much before because it's so limited in what it offers in terms of matte. It's got this one kind of sequin matte here and then a standard matte and a matte here, but everything else is a shimmer. And I have the Essential Violet Voss palette that I got from a BoxyCharm. And this one has a lot more mattes in it and kind of less shimmers. So the idea I had was to use these palettes together. So far I have not really done that yet. These are ones I don't really reach for too often. I've considered decluttering them, but these are my only Violet Voss shadows, and they actually are really great formulas. So I do want to try to get some more use out of it. I love this dusty rose color. It's so pretty. Next, I have two eyeshadows from Alamar Cosmetics. This is her second one. This is the Reina del Caribe palette. Sorry, I probably pronounced that terribly, but you've got a couple mattes in here, some shimmers, and just a really pretty color story. I love this like jungle theme, and I love that this brand is out of Miami, which is like my second favorite place in the world outside of New York. And then I have her first palette, which was the Reina del Caribe Volume 1. And this one has 4 shimmers and 4 mattes. I haven't used either one of these palettes yet, but I am very excited to tap into them at some point. But yeah, these are basically brand new untouched palettes in my collection. Then for these two palettes, I have the only cargo palette I ever really loved. This is the Namaste in India palette. These shadows are so creamy dreamy. They are so beautiful, and I love this color story. I love these greens. I love all the pretty soft neutrals in here. The shimmers are really beautiful, and this palette performs very well. The other cargo palettes I wasn't as thrilled about. The colors were just a little too muted for me, but this one I thought was really beautiful, so I've hung on to it. And then I have, you can call it KVD Beauty now, I think, right? The Shade and Light palette. So this is one I also don't reach for too often, but I feel like it's something that I should stick in my collection, like keep in my collection, just because of the versatility of this palette. It's so like contour driven. I think it could be really beautiful for creating some smoky eye looks. So I do want to definitely get some more use out of this palette. Then we have all of my ColourPop palettes. So I have the monochromatic palettes here in the front. I have the Ooh La La palette. Mind you, I've used one of these so far. I haven't touched any of the other ones. So this one's more pink themed. It's got a little bit of purple going on too, but this one's supposed to be kind of more on the pinky side. I have the Main Squeeze palette, which is the only one I've used so far. This color story really doesn't inspire me too much, and I think it's what's been holding me back from doing my little color series, because I'm like, I should start with red, and I look at this palette and I just don't feel that inspired. I think it was the completionist in me that just wanted the whole rainbow, but I'm hoping that maybe if I play with it a little bit more, I'll come up with some great ideas for this one. Then we have the Aren't You Glad palette, which I have never used. It's got a bunch of really beautiful warm shades. I think this will be so pretty for spring and summer. I love how citrusy this one is. I have the Honey palette, which I've never used. No, I did use this once. I think I swatched it for my duping the Naked Honey palette, but I've never used this on my eyes. Then we have the Just My Luck palette, which is the green palette. This is so gorgeous. This center shade in Mary Jane is so pretty. I've never used this one though. I want to. I just haven't yet, but I definitely want to start that series soon. I think I'm going to go out of color order and just grab the one that inspires me the most, which right now has been Blue Moon. I have felt so inspired by this Blue Moon palette, particularly the Moonlight and the Daba D, which if you grew up in the 90s, you might remember that song. But this palette I think is so beautiful. And even though I don't wear blue shadows that often, it's just these two shades like are holding some kind of force over me. So I definitely want to play with this palette maybe first, and that way I'll start that color story series for you guys that's been requested, and I definitely want to get started on that for you guys. Next, I have the Lilac You A Lot. This is one of the many purple palettes I have in my collection. I already mentioned the Violet Ink palette, and this is another purple palette I have. This is more on the pastel side. So this is kind of why I didn't want to pick up the Jeffree Star Bloodlust palette, because I just really felt like I already had so many purples in my collection, and I just don't reach for these enough. But I definitely felt like I was already kind of oversaturated with purple, and I wanted to get something that I could use a little bit more. Next, I have the It's My Pleasure palette. This is, well, the deeper purple shade, and this is a beautiful palette. I have heard so many good things about this. I have, again, not touched any of these nearly enough, but I definitely want to. And then last, I have the Smoke Show palette. This is now called Blowing Smoke. I believe Colored Rain had the copyright on Smoke Show, so they had to rename this palette, but this is absolutely beautiful. This is probably my favorite monochromatic palette. This was one I actually requested myself from ColourPop. I was like hitting them up on Instagram, like, please make this palette. So they did, and obviously not because of me. A lot of people were requesting it, but I was one of them. And this is so beautiful. I cannot wait to play with this. This just feels like New Year's Eve to me. It feels like this gorgeous, grungy, glamorous, beautiful look. I cannot wait to play with these. Then I have the Double Entendre palette. This is absolutely one of my favorite palettes in my collection. I've used this so many times. I've traveled with this. It is so wearable, so easy. It's great for work, great for even like a fancy dinner out or something. It's so beautiful, so versatile, so wearable. I absolutely love this palette. This would be one, if I could only keep 10, I really think I'd probably keep this palette as one of my 10. I haven't done that video yet because I want to try more of my palettes first, but I love this one. Next, I have the Yes Please palette, and I've actually seen some people declutter this palette, and I'm like, how do you declutter this? It is so pretty. This is another one I've traveled with alongside the Double Entendre palette. It's so summery, so warm and pretty. I really love this. And I believe this was the very first pressed powder palette that ColourPop launched when they were just doing single shadows and they were doing the Super Shocks, and then they came out with this palette. And I believe this is supposed to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona Sunset palette, Sunrise palette, Sunset palette, I think. I think they're so gorgeous, and I use this all the time. It does get very dirty because it's like a white cover, but that's fine with me. I don't mind. Next, we have the Rendezvous palette, which was the first ColourPop palette that I purchased. I believe this was an Ulta exclusive. And this is not a color story that I reach for all that often, but when you're looking for a specific shade, this palette is your girl. But I reached into this for my duping the Naked Honey palette from Urban Decay, so definitely enjoyed this palette. Next, we have the Dream Street palette, which was Kathleen Light's first collab palette with ColourPop. Not her first collab, but her first palette with ColourPop. This one I have never used, but I'm very tempted to use, especially this coral shade, this beautiful dark teal, and this shimmery teal. Then we have Kathleen Light's second palette collab with ColourPop. This is the Zodiac palette, and this one is definitely a unique color story. I have reached into this when I've needed specific colors. I've also created looks with this. I did a video using this palette as well right in the beginning of my channel, so I definitely like this one. I think it's a great little palette. This few I have never used. This is the Sweet Talk palette. It's a beautiful palette for spring. I've actually been saving it for spring because I believe I bought it like towards the end of the summer last year. It's got some gorgeous shades in here. I know this is Samantha March's favorite ColourPop palette. It's so pretty. So I cannot wait to use this. Like, look at this gorgeous, like shimmery, corally gold shade. Oh my goodness. Next, I have the California Love palette. I also have not used this yet. It's got a really pretty Super Shock up here. Really pretty neutral color story, absolutely beautiful. I love this. This could be great for work looks. It does have a pressed glitter in here, which I know does bother some people. It doesn't bother me, but I know some people do try to avoid that. So just things to keep in mind. Some of these palettes absolutely do have some glitter shades in them. Next, we have the X's and O's palette. This one I heard was kind of like similar to the She palette, but I didn't have that palette, so I didn't mind picking this one up. So it's also got some really pretty shades. It does not have any pressed glitters, really pretty burgundies. Then we have the Good as Gold palette, which I also need to play with. This has got a bunch of beautiful gold, mainly shimmers. It's got a couple mattes and a sequin formula down here. But oh, these shimmers look so beautiful, especially this O Team and also Nugget About It. Nugget About It. But it's absolutely beautiful. I cannot wait to play with this. Then one of my absolute favorite ColourPop palettes is the Misunderstood palette. This is the Disney Villain collab. This reminds me of the Lunar Beauty Moonspell palette. They're both beautiful palettes. Packaging on here is gorgeous, and I love this color story. I think these shimmers are so unique. I use this color also to dupe the Naked Honey palette. Just a gorgeous color story. I love this palette. And then lastly, I have the Truly Madly Deeply palette, which was an Ulta exclusive, I believe, when it first launched. This one is beautiful. I wore this in my New Year's resolution video, the one I launched on January 1st, and I think this is such a pretty color story. It's so much fun playing with this palette. Then if we do an overview of the second drawer, we have kind of my little bit fancier palettes. If we start on this side, we have my Urban Decay Born to Run palette. This is definitely one I would like to get some more use out of. I'd like to get more use out of all of these palettes because most of them I've touched only a few times or never. There's a few that I've reached for a bajillion times, which I think I pretty much indicated when I talked to you guys, but I definitely want to get some more use out of this palette. It's so pretty and it's beloved. I have the Huda New Nudes palette. Whoa. This is a palette I love. I've reached for this so many times. It's so beautiful. I love all the mauve tones, the light soft browns and such. Pretty glittery and shimmery shades. So I absolutely love this one. Next, we have the Fenty Beauty Moroccan Spice palette. This one I just got in this month's BoxyCharm. This was in my Luxe. No, this was in my premium box. And I think this palette's beautiful. I was very impressed by how the mattes performed. I didn't try the shimmers yet, but the mattes blended beautifully. They were very easy to work with, and I'm looking forward to getting some more use out of this guy. Next, we have the KKW Beauty Classic palette. This is one I've definitely reached for several times for work looks. There's like a dip in that yellow shade there, Very, very pretty palette. It's pretty basic, but it's so nice and so wearable, and it's just lovely formula. Then we have the Kylie Cosmetics Sipping Pretty palette. This was her 21st birthday palette. This is a gorgeous palette, and I think these shades perform beautifully. I've definitely worn this a handful of times for sure. I haven't tried all of the colors yet, but the ones I've tried, I think they're very pigmented and perform beautifully. This was a really expensive palette. I think it was like $65. But I got it on Black Friday last year. And so I think I got it for like 30 something or 40 something. So I was very excited to grab this palette. I think it's so, so, so pretty. Next, we have the Take Me on Vacation, also by Kylie Cosmetics. This one I am definitely not as impressed with. I'm a little underwhelmed with this palette, but I feel like I've tried to use her brush every time I've tried to use these shadows, and I just don't like this brush, I think. So I want to give this a little bit more of a shot with some of my brushes that I do love, and see if I can get a better result out of it. If not, I'm going to be decluttering this palette, but I wanted to give it a little bit more of a shot. Next, we have the Dominique Cosmetics Latte palette. I have never used this. I bought this because my girlfriend on YouTube here, it's Amanda. She is lovely. She loves this palette. I've heard so many good things about this palette, and I think I haven't touched it because it's so special and so pretty and so highly loved that I keep reaching for other palettes with similar shades that I've already kind of used. So I just haven't tapped into this yet, but I absolutely want to. This is totally gorgeous, and I can't wait to try it. Next, also from Dominique Cosmetics, we have the Celestial Thunder palette. This is kind of like a medium-sized palette, little 8-pan. Her full palette, I think, has 4 more shades, but she did this one for BoxyCharm, and I was really excited because these were most of the colors I would have liked to have played with from that palette anyway. I wasn't crazy about the formula of this one. The shimmer, especially this one here, is gorgeous, but I had a little bit of trouble blending this orange and brown shade, but I do want to play with it more and see if I can get her formula to work a little bit better for me, kind of learn my way around it a little bit better. Then moving on to Dose of Colors, I have the Hidden Treasure palette. This was another one I got from a BoxyCharm. So we have this very, very pretty neutral palette here. I know this did drive some people crazy with the way the colors are arranged. I personally don't really care about that kind of stuff so much. It doesn't really bother me. This palette I had a great time using. I only played with it one time for that video, but I definitely want to get some more use out of it. The shimmers were really beautiful. The mattes were very easy to blend, and I enjoyed myself. I think this is a really cute palette. Also from Dose of Colors, I have the Desi and Katie Friendcation palette. This is gorgeous. I've definitely gotten some use out of this one too. It's one I've reached for more than once or twice. And these mattes blend beautifully. I've played a lot with this shimmer. I haven't used the other shimmers so much, but I've used the heck out of this gold one. And it's just really, really pretty over the lid. It's just a gorgeous palette. It's such pretty packaging. And then last from Dose of Colors, I have the Marvelous Mauves palette, which I also got from BoxyCharm. This is a gorgeous palette. This is right up my alley with these really pretty smoky mauves and purples. And these little brushes, I am not playing with you when I say this. These are some of the best brushes I've ever used. This little detail brush and this little pencil brush, fantastic. These blend beautifully. So definitely hang on to these little brushes. I'm tempted to take this out of this palette so I can use it more, but these are absolutely fantastic brushes, and these colors are gorgeous. I really love this palette. Then kind of sliding back to my Lime Crime palettes, I have decluttered some Lime Crime from my collection, but these I hung on to because these are fantastic. So first I have the Venus XS. This is the Rose Gold palette. This I have definitely used for beautiful work looks. Oh, these colors blend perfectly. This was such a beautiful palette, such a simple look, but one you'd want to wear often, and it's gorgeous. Next, we have the Venus XS Silver. Another palette I've definitely used. I've worn this to work. Such pretty cool tone colors, such an easy palette. And then we have the Venus XS Solid Gold palette. This is another gorgeous one. This is the only one I have not used yet. I love the sequin matte. That's such a pretty caramel kind of transition color. And then you've got a shimmer shade in this beautiful shimmery gold. Such a gorgeous palette. I cannot wait to use this. And then I have kind of the medium size. These are not the large ones. This is just the regular old Lime Crime Venus palette. This is the first one. And this one I have used, no, I think I just swatched it. I don't think I've used this one yet. But it's got a really pretty color story, really pretty corals. I think Lime Crime comes up with such creative color stories, and this is just a beautiful example of one. This one I think is even more unique and creative and beautiful. This is the Venus 2. I have definitely used this. I have a look using this on my Instagram. I dug my thumbnail into that poor shade. And you can also create, like, you've got this green here, but you can also make yellow and blue, and they'll make green as well. So you can kind of play with those different colors. Just really nice formula. I love these palettes. And then lastly, I have the Venus 3, which is more pink and purple. It's got some gold there too. Nice brown, kind of like a burgundy red brown. Gorgeous color story. I really like these a lot. Then moving into my Tarte shadows, I have this little 3-pan foil finger paints in the shade Bahamas. So these are gorgeous. I've swatched these before on my channel. These cream shadows are out of this world. Crazy pigmented and beautiful. And then you've got this gorgeous little glitter shade here too. I also have the Tarte Sizzle palette. This is one of the Rainforest of the Sea palettes, and this one's really pretty. The shimmers in here perform beautifully. The mattes you can see I've dug into big time, so they were a little bit trickier for me, but this is still a decent palette. It's not my favorite from Tarte, but the packaging is absolutely stunning. It's my packaging wise, it's my favorite from Tarte, but formula wise, you know, I've definitely seen better, but it's not a bad palette at all. I really do like this one. Next, we have the Maneater palette by Tarte. This is my very first Tarte palette, I think. This one or maybe the other one. It was one of my oldest palettes, so is the Maneater palette. I think this might have been my first one. But this is so pretty. It's just a very easy like work palette. It's just got some neutrals in here, some shimmers, super approachable. This was kind of the reissue where they added that black matte shade, which I definitely prefer over the like larger white shade they had here, because I don't use white that often. It's nice to kind of blend out some colors sometimes, but you know, it's fine. So I really like this palette. I think it's really cute. Packaging is adorable. Next, I have the Tartlet in Bloom, which I picked up during, I think, an Ulta sale over the fall or around Christmas. This I have not used yet, but these shades are so pretty. I love how cooler they are, more neutral. I've heard so many good things about this palette, so I'm really excited to pick this up and give it a try. I also have the Tartlet palette, which was my very first video on my channel. It's definitely one of my oldest palettes. And this one is absolutely stunning. It's more warm, but it's got some really beautiful shimmers in it. It's so easy to work with. It's a great work palette as well. Just nice, warm neutrals. It's a little bit, like I said, warmer than the one in Bloom, which is a little cooler or more neutral, but these are great colors. Super easy to work with and very approachable. Last, I have the Tarteist Pro Remix, which has got like really cool packaging. It's just really neat, and then inside this color story is beautiful. I love the like little splash of neon colors in here. In terms of the packaging, it's very 80s, but it's so cute. And I love these colors. I think they're really pretty. And I feel like Tarte really went out of the box with this one. I know a lot of folks complain about Tarte and how their palettes, you know, are too basic, but this one I think was really, really pretty. I love these special shades here over to the side. There's plenty of matte neutrals in here and then beautiful shimmers to play with. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I love this palette. Next, I have one Fenty Snap Shadow. I only picked up the one in Cadet. I was gonna pick up the pastel one, and I think there was another one I had my eye on, but when I swatched them in person, I was a little underwhelmed, but this one I thought was really special and pretty. It's kind of like a little unique color story, and I thought it was really cool and grungy, so definitely was my favorite one. Excited to give this a try. I haven't tried it yet, but I definitely will. Then we've got some more Huda palettes. We've got the Huda Beauty Smoky Obsessions palette. This one came to me from Sephora broken. This black shade was totally smashed when it came out of the box, but this one I've played with I think maybe once or twice. It's really, really pretty palette, and I was super excited. It was like out of stock, and then I got it when it came back in quickly. This is a beautiful smoky palette. I also have the Topaz Obsessions. This one I've definitely played with as well. Just like a pretty little warm tone palette, but I love these shimmers, and I love how rich these tones are. I think they're so beautiful and such a cute little convenient package. I also have the Huda Beauty Emerald Obsessions. This one I have not played with yet. It's got a lot of beautiful green tones. I haven't heard the greatest thing about the formula in this particular one for some reason, but I have some faith in it. I also have the Sapphire Obsessions, which I wore in a recent video when I had a blue eye look. I used this palette. But this is a really pretty palette. I've seen Bailey Sarian use this as well during one of her murder mystery makeups, which is what made me want to pull it out and play with it. But she did a gorgeous job with this, way better than I could ever hope to do. But I think this palette's so pretty. The color story is really cute. It's very like Under the Sea. And then my fourth dedicated purple palette is this Huda Beauty Amethyst Obsessions. So more purple shades. We've got a little gold down here, but the rest of them are kind of like raspberry purple colors. So just with all these purple palettes, I'm like, do I really need the Bloodlust palette? And I decided I really kind of didn't. So excited to play with this more. This is really pretty. And then I have one of her neon palettes. This is the Neon Orange palette. I have not played with this yet. This looks so gorgeous. I saw, who was it? Sandra Deluxe did a look with this, and I was obsessed. I'm like, I have to get that orange palette. So pretty. What a pretty pink shimmer here too. But I've never used this one yet, but come summer, I think this is gonna be gorgeous. Then if we move over to this side of the drawer, first I have this Marc Jacobs Stiletto palette. This is a pretty cool tone, really beautiful. And I have not even tried this yet. I wanted this so badly, and I picked it up full price. I just didn't care. I was like, you know what? I'm getting this palette. And then I just haven't used it yet. Then I have a MAC palette, the Classic Cutie. And And this one is like all lavender and silver. It's beautiful. I definitely want to use this more. This is another dedicated purple palette I didn't even remember I had. So yeah, definitely didn't need more purple. This is such a cute palette. I definitely want to use it more. I have an Instagram post using this palette as well. Then we have the Butter London palette, which is another one that may be on the chopping block. I just want to get a little bit more use out of it and give it a little bit more of a try. The shimmer shades are really pretty in here. I don't really care for this blue shade. The brown's okay. But this one may end up getting decluttered. It's kind of there with that Kylie Cosmetics palette. I kind of thought I could use them together. And so we'll see. This one might be getting decluttered, but I'd like to try it a little bit more first. I have some brushes from Storybook Cosmetics. These are so pretty. And I have the Fairy Tales Storybook Cosmetics palette. This is the Little Briar Rose. These are gorgeous colors, especially these blues are so beautiful. This shimmery coral, this pretty matte coral, this beautiful dark burgundy. Oh, this, and I love Thorn. What a pretty color. So I have not tried this yet, but this color story was just magical to me. So pretty. And these little brushes I thought were so cute. These were on sale and I had to get them because they were just neat. If I can get them out of their little pouch. So you can see these handles are so fancy. They're like so pretty. And then you've got these beautiful brushes. I've never used these obviously because they're so special, but I like keeping them with the little Storybook Cosmetics palette in their little pouch. Back here we have some Too Faced. I did declutter some Too Faced. These are ones I still want to test and see if I love them. Other ones I totally know I love, but this little Too Faced Tickled Peach palette, I just want to try this again. I only tried this once and I only tried that purple shade. I really haven't gotten to get much use out of this, so I want to see if I can love it, as well as this Pineapple palette. This is the Sparkling Pineapple Eyeshadow palette from Too Faced. So this I also only tried one time and I just want to try to get a little bit more use out of it, see if I can make it work or if it's going to get decluttered. The Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes is not going anywhere. I love this palette. This is my favorite Too Faced palette, still is. Such a gorgeous color story. These shades perform beautifully. Super pigmented, blendable, easy to use, gorgeous eye looks. It's so easy. You can pretty much create a beautiful look with any of these shades. They're so beautiful and I really, really love this palette. Then we have the White Peach palette, which when I've used, I've enjoyed. I haven't used all of the shades yet, like this pink glistening peach shade. I haven't even touched. I haven't touched Peach Passion. So there's definitely some shades in here I haven't even tried yet. Other ones I've tried, like this Sweet Fig is my favorite color in the palette, and this Peach Smoothie, you can see there's a bit of a dent in. I've definitely used these guys together. I've used this one, but I definitely want to get some more use. This looks like a really pretty transition color as well. Then these two are more than likely going to get decluttered, but I just want to try them a bit more and see if there's value in these for me. But this is more of a cool tone palette, which is why I really like it. I believe these mattes perform pretty beautifully. I think the shimmers were very lackluster in here, which kind of disappointed me. But I want to just try this a bit more, as well as the Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar. I've used this a bunch of times, and I know these shades perform well, but I have like the Double Entendre palette, which has these shades in it that I would mostly reach for. Peanut Butter and Truffled, I've reached for a ton of times. I've reached for this little guy down here. It's pretty kind of cooler tone, but these shades are just a little bit lackluster. They're not terrible. So I just want to kind of see, obviously as I get more palettes and have less room, these may get decluttered a little faster, or I may end up loving them, but I just want to give these more of a shot and then we'll see. And then these guys, the Chocolate Gold palette as well as the Gingerbread palette, I also tried and I was a little underwhelmed. I had such high expectations for these and I just didn't feel like they met my expectations, but I only got to use them for a very small amount of time. I didn't get to use all of the shades, so I want to give these more of a shot. And then if I really don't like them, I'll declutter them. But if I can find use from them, I'll be so thrilled because I spent my hard-earned money for these guys and I'm not just trying to buy stuff to get rid of it. You know what I mean? So hoping I can make these work. Then we have all of my Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes. We have my Carli Bybel palette, which I just got to use recently. I tried this Bybel shade in the Mandala shade in my recent Shop My Stash scavenger hunt when I did the review roundup. I swatched all these colors as well for you guys, and I love it used with the Jackie Aina palette. So I think these two palettes together is like a dream palette. Like how gorgeous do they look together. I played with this purple and this purple. You've got like all these gorgeous shimmers that you could put with any of these colors, or start with pink, or maybe start with Supreme and then Pinker and then Stev, and then maybe go over with Wigglies over the lid. Like you can just do so much with these two palettes together. I think these are gorgeous together. I really like them. Then we have the Alyssa Edwards palette, which is super colorful. I definitely want to get more use out of this. I have tried these two purples with those other colors I just talked about, and that'll be in that video, which I'm sure will be up before this one. But I definitely found this to be really beautiful. I like the shades. I think they blended very nicely. I definitely want to try more colors. I did swatch them all for you guys as well. Then we have Subculture, which I also just used for the first time this week, and I am so happy I finally cracked into this. I'd heard so many bad things about Subculture that I purchased it because I love the color store, but then I was like doubting myself and my ability to actually use this. And so it just stayed untouched in my collection, but I tried it this week. I did a look with Edge and Fudge and this color, this shimmer in Adorn all over the lid. It was gorgeous. So I really love this. It's probably my favorite ABH color story, and I'm so happy that this new reformulated version performs so much better than the original. Next we have the Sultry palette, which is absolutely one of my faves. I wish this one was permanent. I think it should be permanent in her line, but it was limited edition, unfortunately. I think this palette's beautiful. I've gotten so much use out of this one. I did a look on my Instagram with this as well as a look on my channel with this. It's just beautiful, and I love the packaging. Next we have Soft Glam, which is also one of my favorite ABH palettes. These are so creamy. The shadows are so easy to blend. I really love this palette. And then lastly, we have Modern Renaissance, which was my very first ABH palette I purchased. This is really pretty. I did a look on my channel very much in the beginning. It was for Valentine's Day using these shades. Other than these two reds, this is very neutral, very similar to Soft Glam, but you know, some different colors, and they're beautiful used together. Okay, so before we move into my top drawer, I want to go over these two drawers quickly with you. I have the Profusion 7 Shade Ulti Finish eyeshadow palette. I'm not really sure what it's called, but this is a beautiful little 7-pan palette, especially this color here. I have dug myself into that one. So this is really beautiful. It creates gorgeous eye looks, and this is just a simple little palette. I have these two e.l.f. palettes. These are the Velvet Touch eyeshadows. I have this one that's got like a red and a gold and brown. These are all like super creamy, and they're like a cream to powder, say, formula. And then I also have this one that's got more blues and kind of cooler tone browns. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous palette. I also have this Cargo HD palette. This is Picture Perfect Gradient Eyeshadow Palette. This one I have not used yet. I definitely want to try to get some use out of it because these gradient shades are so beautiful. And then once I'm able to try this, if I don't care for the quality, I'll declutter it. Also from e.l.f., I have the Earth and Ocean palette. I did try using this palette once, and I didn't love the eye look I created, so I've been a little hesitant to reach for it again, but I do want to do that. I'd like to do a video with you guys with this palette. Next, I have the Royals palette by Profusion Cosmetics. This one has a nice selection of matte and shimmer shades. The shimmers from Profusion I think are outstanding, especially for a drugstore price tag. I just think this is a great affordable brand in eyeshadow, and these are really pretty colors. It does remind me of my Ace Beauté palette that we looked at earlier. Another e.l.f. palette I have is the Mad for Matte Holy Smokes palette. So this one I have used, I believe, in a video before. Or no, maybe in some pictures before I've used this. It's not one I reach for too often, just because I do prefer the shades in other palettes over these in terms of the quality, but these aren't bad at all. You've got a lot of neutral tones. You've got some cooler tones here too. Just a nice little palette. I think it looks really, really nice with those Velvet Touch eyeshadows as well. Next, I have the Profusion Mixed Metals Peach palette. This is another one I used for like work looks. It's really pretty. It's just a basic palette. I also have a Profusion Pro Contour palette in here that I've never used. It's just powder contours, but I figure this could definitely come in handy if I wanted to do like an all drugstore look or something like all affordable products. I think this could be really cute. Something for everybody. Pretty cool little palette. And then down here, I kind of pulled this out of a larger puffy thing I had from Profusion. These are basically just some brow powders and some eyebrow wax, highlighters, things like that. So I thought I might get some use out of this at some point, you know, just some brow powders. Then I have 4 Profusion palettes. I have the Siennas, which was highly recommended to me. Lots of nice warm colors in here, some beautiful shimmers. I also have the Chocolates palette, which has got some browns and greens. I really think that Blitz color is so beautiful. I have the Pro Pigment Palette, which I did a look with this Nebula shade. This one came highly recommended from my girlfriend Angie, who I absolutely adore. She loves this palette, so I definitely picked it up. And then the Wanderlust Palette, I've heard Kelly Gooch talk about. This is the older version with the circle pans instead of the square pans, but all the colors are pretty much the same. I've used this dark purple in retro in a look. It's kind of like a blue violet, but these are some beautiful greens in here, some pretty shimmers, and just colors I don't have in other palettes. So I really enjoy this colorful palette. Then in this drawer, I have the Revolution Pro HD palette. This is a highlighter palette, but this is kind of just where it fits. So I actually went through this entire palette prior to buying all this makeup. So this was a second palette. I used up the entire first one, if you can believe that. But I haven't reached for this too much, but it is really pretty. So this may end up getting decluttered at some point, but for now I'd like to continue to try to get some use out of it. And then these are mainly my Morphe shadows. I have this first palette. This is the Night Master palette. I got this from a Boxy Luxe back in March of 2019. And these are some really pretty shades. You've got a lot of neutrals and then some kind of berry purpley colors in here as well. So I don't reach for this too often. Again, this may get decluttered at some point, but it's pretty and I'd like to try to get some more use out of this as well. Next, we have the Morphe Copper Spice palette, I believe this is called. Yes, Copper Spice, the 25A. So this one actually really surprised me. This looks like a basic kind of brownie neutral palette, but so many of these undertones are so different from one another that you can really create some beautiful, diverse looks with this palette. Once I actually kind of started tapping into it, this definitely became a favorite for me of the Morphe palettes. I think this is really beautiful. Obviously, it's great for work looks, and it's pretty diverse, believe it or not. Next, I have the first Morphe palette I ever purchased, which was the Stunning Vibes 25V palette. So this one has a lot of blues. It's got some purples, some reds, lots of beautiful champagne-y gold coppery shimmers, some really pretty transition colors. And I just thought this palette was absolutely gorgeous. I've enjoyed this every time I've used it, even though I don't reach for it nearly enough. And there's some shades like this one I don't think I've ever even used. I don't think I've used hardly any of the blues before. So I definitely need to get some more use out of this palette. Next, I have this big old Morphe palette. This is the Such a Gem 39S palette. And this is pretty much another dedicated purple palette, another reason I did not need the Bloodlust palette. And there's a lot of beautiful purples and pinks in here. There's also this new formula that was introduced. These are like topper shades. They're like really shimmery, glittery shades. They're quite beautiful. And they just really make your eye look go to the next level. I just like, you can pretty much transform shades with these. They're just super beautiful. You do have one pressed glitter in here as well. I don't usually use this one because it's just a mess to clean up. But these mattes and shimmers are quite lovely. They're just beautiful shades. And I really enjoyed this palette. I did a 10 looks 1 palette with this one, which is available on my channel if you guys want to see that. And then last I have the Morphe and James Charles palette, which is another big bowl. So we've got all these different pressed pigments. There's also some shimmers in here. There's this really pretty purple. However, I have not enjoyed this palette so much. I only used it twice, I think, maybe. And I just didn't love it, but I definitely want to give it more of a chance because I've heard so many good things. My little niece, Nikki, loves this palette. She is like, she swears by it. She thinks it's fantastic. So I definitely want to get some more use out of it. I've played with some of these purples down here before for a look in my video. I've also played with this yellow, I believe, in another video. I just haven't had the greatest luck, but I want to give it a little bit more of a shot and see if I can get this to be as beloved to me as it is to my niece. And now finally, moving into my top drawer of these new little 4 drawers, we have my most specialist favorite eyeshadow palettes. So I saved these for last. Let's go ahead and explore. So we'll go ahead and start on this side of the drawer with my Jeffree Star palettes. First, I have the Mini Controversy palette. And this one has kind of like some bonus shades to the full Conspiracy palette. This is definitely not my favorite Jeffree Star palette just because these are not shades that I typically reach for all that often. However, I'm happy to have them. I think there's some neat shades in here and some pretty complements to the colors in the Conspiracy palette, which we have right here. This is gorgeous packaging. I think Shane and Andrew did such a good job designing that. and this beautiful color story. I really enjoy using this palette. I love these colors together. They're so pretty. I used these two together the other day. Can be a beautiful blush. This is a really pretty color down here too, called Sleep Paralysis. They're just like such unusual and beautiful shades. I think this is a gorgeous palette. I think they did a really good job with this. And then my last Jeffree Star palette is the Blue Blood palette. Also beautiful packaging. Looks like a coffin. But in here we have a bunch of blues, greens, purples, and then some beautiful neutrals to blend them with. There's gorgeous shimmers, really fun textures. I loved using this palette. I have a video of this palette on my channel as well if you want to check that out. Then we will move on to my Melt palette. So I have a little stack here. This is the blueprint stack. So in here we have a bunch of gorgeous blues and neutrals, some shimmers, some mattes. I have not used any of my Melt palettes yet because I've been so precious about touching them. We also have the Smoke Sessions palette from Melt. And this one you can see, this is a newer palette. Like I bought this after the first launch and everything, but you can see even this Black Widow shade. I've never touched any of these, not even swatched them. But this Black Widow shade is already kind of crumbly and sort of puffing out of the pan if you've seen this before. Now the other ones have stayed normal, but this Black Widow for sure he's an active little shadow in there. Next we have the Impulsive palette. This did go on sale, but of course I bought it full price because, you know, that's my luck. But these are beautiful shades. We have some mattes on this side with 2 shimmers, and then on this side I think is all shimmers. So these are beautiful. Also, I've never touched this palette. I swatched this Game Changer green in Sephora, and that's when I knew I had to have this palette. Next, I have the Gemini palette from Melt. This is another beautiful palette. I think it's very complementary with the Smoke Sessions palette as well. I think they could be really pretty together. This is so nice with these warm colors, but also I love this like mustardy Lorelei shade. Beautiful greens on this side, some beautiful shimmers. Next, we have the Morte palette. This was their holiday collection. I also have not touched these because they are pristine and gorgeous. But this is such a beautiful green palette here. This would be also pretty with Smoke Sessions. We've got some really pretty blues, some gorgeous burgundy, deep tones, beautiful red. I thought this palette was the prettiest palette I think I've ever seen in my entire life. And then I also got the Vita palette, which I basically bought to be a completionist. I had to have the full skull. Like, that just had to happen. I had to have it. This one is really beautiful. I love this limey avocado green, beautiful green shimmer, tons of gorgeous colors in this palette, and they work really well together as well. Then if we move into this middle section, I have this really pretty, it's like got so many colors. I could turn it any which way and it's just gorgeous. I got this from Amazon. This is just basically like a little empty like Z palette. It's not a Z palette, but just like a little empty magnetic palette. This will come into play in a future video. Next, I have the iconic London. This is the loose pigments. These are gorgeous. I don't want to open them because they'll spill all over the place, but you can even see from here these gorgeous shimmers. So these are all like loose highlighter glittery pigments that are really beautiful. And this was like the first thing I think I ever purchased that was expensive, and I bought it full price without a sale just because I really wanted it. I thought it was gorgeous. Then I have the iconic London, what is this one called? This is the Day to Slay. I got this one from a BoxyCharm. And these are gorgeous neutral colors. These shimmers are so beautiful. And this was like an expensive palette to get in box. I think this was like $65. So I really like the formula. I very much enjoyed using this. I've enjoyed wearing it. It's one I can reach for often, and I really love it. Next, we have my Morphe X Jeffree Star palette. I love this palette. I think it is so beautiful. These greens, like this entire last 2 rows had me obsessed with this. Most of these shades are just super wearable, and then you've got this gorgeous array of these grungy greens and beautiful shades. I think this is stunning. I love this palette. I also have the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill Volume 2, which I recently hauled in my low buy, low down video, showing you guys what I picked up in the month of February. This palette is stunning. I have an upcoming trip planned to Cancun in a few months, and I'm definitely bringing this with me for these beautiful tropical shades. I thought this palette was stunning. I'm obsessed with Living My Best as well as My Man. These gorgeous burgundies, especially Crazy, holy cow, what a gorgeous shade. It just reminds me of lipstick, this whole palette. These purples are stunning. I love this palette. I think it's so beautiful. And because I picked that up, this is a bit of a spoiler, but that's okay. I had to pick up, this is one of my March purchases that you'll see in my low buy lowdown at the end of this month, but I did pick up the Jaclyn Hill Volume 1 palette. I do know the formula has changed. I'm okay with that. I've heard it's very similar to this new palette formula, so I really like that when I swatched it, and I swatched those in store at Ulta. But I think together, these two palettes are so beautiful, and I think this is pretty much anything I would need to go to Mexico. Now moving over to this side of the drawer, we have these gorgeous palettes by Kaleidos. So I bought 3 of them. I got the Futurism 1, which is the sci-fi green palette. This packaging is out of this world stunning, and look at this beautiful color story. It definitely gives me like Gemini vibes with the more kind of caramelly colors and golds with the greens. So pretty. I also picked up the Futurism 4 palette by Kaleidos in VR Neon. I love the neon green in here. These are such vibrant colors. Those shimmers look out of this world gorgeous. And then I also picked up the Futurism 5 palette. This one is like the Miami Dolphins. It is blue and orange and shimmery. The silver is stunning. I love these mattes. Can't get over how gorgeous it is. Then we're moving over to my expensive ladies. I have some Pat McGrath in here. I picked up the 2 mini palettes. This one is the Eye Ecstasy Subversive. And this is such a gorgeous color story. These are very small pans of her shimmers, but they are so beautiful. Look at this blue. This is the only color I've swatched from either of these palettes. Holy Toledo. So pretty. And these are, I think, $25 for these little mini palettes. So that was just gorgeous. I have this color, and then I also have the Eye Ecstasy Sublime. And this one is just more natural colors. We've got this really pretty green here, some golds, coppers, browns, champagne colors. I also have these 2 smaller palettes from Pat McGrath. This one I hauled in my January choices, my low buy lowdown for January. This is the Pat McGrath Mothership Subliminal Platinum Bronze palette. So we've got all these beautiful cool tone colors in here. Just absolutely stunning. They're all shimmers, and then we have 1 matte. And then I also have the Mothership Subversive Metamorphosis palette. This one I actually got from my friend Denise, and it is gorgeous. All these beautiful shimmer shades. We've got this really pretty glittery amethyst shade at the bottom. I cannot wait to play with these. I just haven't because they're expensive, and I haven't touched them because Pat McGrath is all special. Then we have my Natasha Denona palettes. So we can start with the minis. I have 5 minis. So I have the Mini Sunset, which has got these beautiful shades. I have played with this one, I think, once. And then I have the Natasha Denona Mini Nudes. This one I have played with maybe 3 times. I don't tend to go for my expensive palettes as often because I feel too precious about them, but this is so easy and wearable and beautiful. I love this palette. And then these 3 I have not even tried yet. So this is the Natasha Denona Mini Tropics palette. So we've got some shimmery greens, blues, this kind of lighter blue silver shade. Then we've got a matte blue and a matte purple. Then this one came out at holiday. This is the Mini Gold. So this has like a really pretty olive green in it, and a pretty kind of champagne-y olivey shimmer, a gold, brown shimmer, and this beautiful nude shade. And then we have the Mini Glam palette. This one I also have not tried yet. It's got some cooler tone shimmers and neutral shades. Just super beautiful. Natasha Denona Love palette, which I have not even swatched yet, haven't touched. I cannot wait. I think these colors together, oh my gosh, like all of these, this whole pink moment we're having, oh my goodness. This gorgeous Pure Love color, holy cow, so pretty. I also have the Sunrise palette. This one I also have not swatched or touched or used, but this has got a beautiful array of warm shades. There's some pretty reds in here, some golds and peaches. Then we have my 2 Natasha Denona full-size palettes. I have the Sunset palette, which I've also never touched. This one's got a lot of nice warm shades. This is one I mentioned is that dupe, the ColourPop Yes Please palette was trying to dupe this one, I think. So very pretty. And then lastly, this was a birthday gift from Doug last year. This is the Natasha Denona Gold palette. And this is stunning. It's so beautiful, and I cannot wait to play with it. I've just been holding back because it's expensive, but I need to get over that for sure. So I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing my new makeup organization and eyeshadow palette collection video. I also want to let you guys know about a fun giveaway in this video. So for this giveaway, I'm going to be giving away Becca Skin Love Glow Glaze Stick. I'll also be giving away the Fenty Beauty Trophy Wife Highlighter. I'll also be giving away this Palm Spring Dreams palette by Too Faced. And last, I'll be giving away this Ace Beauté palette in Blossom Passion. If you are interested in this giveaway, go ahead and leave the hashtag JoyceBeautyJohns in the comments below with a way to contact you. This giveaway is only open to my subscribers, so if you're interested in this giveaway, you have to be subscribed to my channel, and leave the hashtag JoyceBeautyJohns in your comment below with a way to contact you if you're interested in winning this giveaway. I thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today. I hope you enjoyed seeing my collection, and I look forward to the next video with y'all. So until next time, bye.